Hello, fifth graders. Today we're going to go over how to round numbers, how to multiply fractions, how to solve proportions, and how to convert fractions to percents. So for the first section we're going to go over is how to round numbers, and it says round to the underlying number. Well, we're going to do number 2. It says 615,571, and we're going to be rounding the underlying number 5. So the way you round numbers is this underlying number over here, 5. Well, you're going to look at the number to the right of it, the one right next to it. Well, that number is 5. Now with this 5, I'm going to look at the first post-it note, the yellow post-it note, and it says if the number to the right, which in our case is 5, is greater than or equal to 1, we're going to round the underlying number up. But if it's less than 5, we're going to keep the 5 the same. Well, we know 5 fits in the first criteria. It is greater than or equal to 5. So we're going to round the underlying number up, which means we're just going to be increasing, we're just going to be adding 1 to the 5. So 5 plus 1 is 6. So I'm going to put 6 over here. So we round it up to 5 because 5 is greater than or equal to 5. And now the next post-it note we see over here, it says, then all numbers after the underline turns into 0. So the numbers right after the underlying number 5, which now is 6, these three values will turn to 0 like this. So the numbers before the underlying number, you're going to keep them the same, 6 and 1, but the numbers after the underlying value, you're going to turn them all into 0. Simple as that. And the underlying number is going to change based on the number to the right, based on these requirements. And that's it, how you round numbers. So for the second section we're going to go over is how to multiply a fraction. And we're going to multiply number 3 over here. So I'm going to just rewrite over here. It's 6, 7 times 2, 4. Now, in order to multiply fractions, it's very easy. It's very different from how you add fractions or subtract fractions. So all you have to do is just multiply across. You don't have to worry about having a common denominator. That's only for when you're adding or subtracting, but when you're multiplying, your denominator doesn't matter at all. All you have to do is just multiply across. Well, 6 times 2 is 12, 7 times 4 is 28. Well, the one thing, all fractions, when you're multiplying, adding, or subtracting, or dividing, what you have to do at the end is simplify them. So we're going to simplify 12 over 28 into its simplest form. So I noticed in order to get it to simplest form, I just need to divide the numerator and the denominator by 4. So the numerator, the new numerator, the simplified numerator becomes 3. The simplified denominator becomes 7. So your simplest form of 12 over 28 is 3 over 7. And that's ultimately your final answer for number 3. So now for the third section, proportions, we're going to be cross-multiplying to solve the proportions. I will show you what cross-multiplying is by solving for number 2 and number 4. Number 2, we have x over 10 equals 6 over 20. So cross-multiplying is pretty easy to memorize because as the name suggests, we're going to be cross-multiplying. So we're going to make a crossover like this, an x cross. And then we're just going to be multiplying the cross we made. So take this cross first, x and 20. So now we're going to multiply them together, cross-multiply. So we're going to multiply these together, which we get 20x, and we're going to put it equal to the other cross, which is 6 times 10, which is 60. So now we just have to get x alone because we're solving for x. So you divide both sides by 20, you end up with x equals 3. So that's how you solve for these types of problems. So 4, I'm going to go over it again. That might have been confusing. 1/4 equals 5 over x. So now again, I'm going to make this cross-shaped figure, this x cross, and the numbers, the values inside each cross, you're going to multiply them together. So the first cross, 1 and x, we're going to multiply them to equal x. We're going to multiply 5 and 4 to equal 20. And since x is already isolated, this will be your final answer for number 4. Now the last section we're going to go over is how to convert to percentages. So the number of problems you're going to get 1 through 10, all of them are going to be either over 10 or either over 100. And I'm going to go over each one of them. So I'm going to go over 1 over 10 and 1 over 100 in order to show you how to convert each of them into percentage. So I'm going to go over number 2 first because I find over 100 more easier. So when you have 23 over 100 as your fraction, simply to convert this into percentage is just this, 23%. Your numerator becomes the percentage over here, as you can tell, and this only occurs when the denominator is over 100. If it's over 50, this does not happen. You don't convert into 23%. This only happens when it's over 100. So I'm going to show you what happens when it's over 10. So which is with number 1. So number 2 is 23%, which is pretty easy. So we'll just 7 over 10. So what I said for number 2 was that in order to just have your numerator as a percent is when you have your denominator as 100. So what we can do to this fraction is make the denominator into 100, and which is pretty easy because we have 10 as our denominator. So in order to multiply that, to get that into 100, you need to multiply by 10. So you can multiply the denominator by 10. And you're going to multiply the numerator by 10 also, because once you do to the denominator, you're going to do to the numerator. So now you're going to get 70 over 100, and now it's easy because we have our 100 as our denominator. Now that we have our 100 as a denominator, it just becomes 70%. So something to remember is that this only happens with over 100 again. I'm going to repeat this again. So this only happens when it's over 100. Over 10, all you have to do is just multiply the numerator by 10 and you'll get your answer. So 7, we have 7, then we're just going to multiply by 10 and we get 70, which will become your percentage over here. So over 10 is also easy because all you have to do is just multiply the numerator by 10. But just saying, if it's over 50, all you have to do is multiply 2 to get into 100. But for numbers like over 23 or numbers like 78, there's a different way to convert to percent. So that is a different way that we're going to go over next time if we encounter it. So this is it for today.